Welcome back to Far Cry 2, or specifically, welcome back to my very first thoughts video. That's the very original name I came up with for this series. So, basically, what this is my thoughts about the game. Uh, I have some angles from which I would like to look at this, and stuff like that I popped into my mind when I was playing, and I didn't want to say them when I was playing, or stuff that I figured out when I was editing, or anything like that. So yeah, this is gonna be that video, and I'm gonna do them for all the games coming up, but I haven't just gotten around to it yet, so this is gonna be the first one. Yeah, on the background you can see the Tom's mod. That was my inspiration to start playing Far Cry 2 again, basically. It's got all the features you would like. It's basically a one-stop shop for playing the game on a modern system. You have tons of options and stuff like that, where you can tweak everything and stuff like that. Have the color grading be less brown, and the single most important feature is probably going to be the uh, outpost on respawn feature, which is I think a separate mod, but it's included in this mod. So yeah, it's basically a one-stop shop, and I wanted to feature it here in the beginning because I think that's really the best way to play this game. You get all sorts of graphical improvements and outpost and weapons, rebalancing and everything. I think it's a great mod. So my idea to evaluate or look at the game from a critical perspective, well, not critical, this is not a review, but a way to give my thoughts with a concise and not running amok. I came up with a system from one of Tim Kane's videos actually. And Tim Kane, for those who don't know, is one of the creators of Fallout and Arcanum and other games. And he has a YouTube channel where he talks about games and everything in between. But basically, he, in one of his earliest videos, used an example from the theme park building that Disney uses, the 10 rules that they use for that. And he has actually used that in video game design or something like that. And I actually have kept notes from those videos. And I actually then decided to use them for this video. And I actually kind of moved them around a little bit, and there's only 8 rules, which I thought would kind of apply to this video and the videos coming. So that's gonna be the one of the ways that I'm gonna be looking at the game. I'm going to put up the 8 rules or ways of looking at the game that I came up with from that video on screen so you can read them as well. But yeah, then I'm gonna just kind of go off the cuff, I guess. Well, basically just throw my ideas out there. This is gonna be very rough video, I think. It's not gonna be a video essay or anything like that. But yeah, so the first part is actually, like it says, know your audience. That means that you don't bore people with your lore, or throw big lore bombs, or have egregious amounts of cultural references or bad humor or anything like that. And I think in that sense, Far Cry is actually pretty great. Well, especially Far Cry 2 is a very touchy subject, the game world and the story that Far Cry 2 portrays. It's a very touchy subject, and I don't know if anybody will make a game like this during the modern days. So I don't know what kind of audience they were targeting here with this game. I think in many ways this game was very much of a prototype. So they didn't have like a target audience in a way. Like they have in modern Far Cry titles. The target audience is very much thought out nowadays. But yeah, I think they knew pretty well where to go with this game in that sense. The second thing is the flow of the game. This is like how clear the story is. Basically everything, how the game flows, I think, in general. And I think Far Cry 2, well, the story is not very like thick in a way. It's very thin on the story side, I guess. And it's very obscure in a way as well. But I think it does a good job of like telling the story if you kind of pay attention to it. Yeah, I think so. And the flow, I guess the flow comes down to like also like the gameplay side of it, or the game loop, if you will. Yeah, the game loop in itself is pretty well thought out, I think. Well, yeah, the story is clear. There's really no side quests or anything like that. Well, there kind of is, so... But not in the typical sense, they are pretty much fetch quests. Most often they're fetch quests. So I guess the flow is very basic, but it's very clear. I guess that's the best way to put it. And yeah, the third part is actually the story pacing. I think the story flows pretty well. Like, again, it's kind of hard to evaluate because it's very different from many games. Because it's so open-ended and the quests are very simple in structure. I didn't even like think about this before, but it's kind of hard to evaluate the game because of how it's structured. So I think it flows well. It's just very hard to compare it to anything we really have out here. The modern gaming scene, I guess. The fourth part is contradictions. Don't contradict. Well, this comes down to like how recognizable the game is. And is there like lore issues, retcons, stuff like that? Well, this game is a standalone game, so there's no lore issues or retcons or anything like that. Actually, some of the characters might be in the later Far Cry games from Far Cry 2, so I guess it's part of the franchise, but there's really no lore issues. How recognizable? This is again like a hard question with this game. Because it wasn't the most super popular game ever back in the day. I think, at least. Like, yeah, Far Cry wasn't like a huge franchise back then. So I guess it's recognizable to at least the people who played it, of course. But like think of like Call of Duty or Far Cry, well, later Far Cries, or I don't know, Fallout or Skyrim or something like that. I don't think in that sense, you know, if you just look at the cover of the Far Cry 2 game or something like that, it's probably not very recognizable. But the style is like very unique. So I guess in that sense it's very recognizable. The next part is like the wow moments or come to me moments, I guess. I think the wow moment is better way to describe it, like the Bethesda step out moments or stuff like that, where you have like beautiful vistas and you're like wow, or places or stuff like when you can like see something in the distance and you're like, yeah, I have to go there. Again, this game does it in a little bit different way, I think, from other games. Like, usually when you think about this kind of stuff, it's like maybe like games like Far Cry. Well, I guess Far Cry as well, but like Fallout or Skyrim or games like that. And in those games, you can like see something in the distance and you want to go there. That's the big joke, isn't it? You know, you can see it, you can climb it meme or whatever that is. You know. But in this game, you don't have like points of interest you wanna go. It's kind of like much more like much like a closer thing, because the thing that you probably will go for is the diamond cases, and you don't usually see them from super far away, but they still create that same like feeling, I guess, at least for me, where you know, it's like, oh, I want to go there because there's diamonds and I'm gonna get currency for it. It's not like I'm gonna see like a building and kind of like I have to go explore that. Or even most often it's like you see the compass beep or the GPS beep and then you're like, oh, there's diamond nearby, I go to explore. So I guess it in that sense has those come to me moments or wow moments. But it also includes the, well, I guess it doesn't really, but this game has like very beautiful vistas. I guess it's not part of the come to me part of it, but it has like that wow effect. Like almost every video I was like, damn, this game is just beautiful, even though it's very old. So I guess that's part of it. uh then then we have the visual literacy, I guess, or and the environmental storytelling. I can't remember which way I wrote it in the video, but looking at my own notes here, yeah, like that environmental storytelling, that's very strong actually in this game, I think. Yeah, like the areas, like uh, I'm again comparing the Bethesda games, but Bethesda games are actually pretty good in that sense. Well, there's games like maybe like the modern, the very recent Indiana Jones, for example, that has great visual literacy, I guess, or environmental storytelling as well. And this game has it in space, actually. Like, you don't have those vistas where you go and like, oh, but you're just gonna come up stuff. Like, you're like going to a location and then you find out like there's like a crashed car and dead body, or you come up on these like little scenes of the Civil War very often. And also they have used a lot of time to create different pathways and things like that. So while they don't tell a story per se, there is still like very much thought put into it, you know, like that you come up on, like it feels natural, I guess that's the word. So you come up with these like places and things, and yeah, some of them tell a story of like how this guy ended up here, maybe, or there's like a sometimes you can say like uh like scuff marks on the road, and then you find like a boss that's gone off the road or things like that. But many times you're just gonna find like maybe trash or something like that, and then you find a path, and that path leads you to your objective or something like that. It's very like nuanced in that sense. So in that sense, they tell a story, I guess. They just gonna tell a story of like of the game world. It's not like fantastical or anything like that. It's very like subtle, I guess. Is a good word. Then the seventh thing is like keeping it simple. This is like don't overload the player with like quest objectives, or keeping it in the universe, or what else do I have written here? Yeah, I guess it's uh yeah, simple quests, or it's quest objectives, stuff like that, and like trying to keep everything in the universe. And this is actually one of this game's strong suits, I think. That it actually does this very well, I think. You have this very minimal HUD, and I actually even made it more minimal with the mod. And you don't have many quest objectives or anything like that. So in that sense, it avoids that overload and allows you to immerse yourself in the game very well, I think. Well, of course, the game is also very simple in the quest objective, so there's not much to overload you with, I guess, some would say. And yeah, for some people, this game just doesn't click, and I think that's probably one reason, because it's very open-ended. It's very much a sandbox. Do we have any good games to compare this to? I don't know, like, I guess Far Cry could be compared to like Ghost Recon Wildlands or something like that. But even with less of a story than Ghost Recon. So I don't know. There is it's a very like simple game in that sense. So it avoids that overload very well. But maybe to its detriment even. If you like if this game clicks, it clicks very well. If it doesn't click at all. That's what you can see if you like look at the game online. You either love it or hate it. This is one of those games. And I guess that comes to the last point pretty well. I didn't even think about this, but the last point is different things for different people. In that sense, this game doesn't offer it for you much. It's basically just you doing the objectives and exploring a little, finding stuff, going through the objectives. There's like stealth or loud. There's pretty much nothing else, no other way to play the game. There's no pacifist or anything like that. It's just a very simple simulator, I guess, in that sense. Or I guess and it's also like, does the story react to you or your choices? No, it doesn't really. It's pretty much the same, even though there's different people, sometimes. So yeah, I think that covers my ideas pretty well. I think. I think, yeah, that's pretty much it about the 8 points that I had. I have like scattered notes here as well that I don't know if they fit some parts or not. Hmm. Oh yeah, there's like I wrote these notes while I was playing, basically like while I was editing, and I got something in my head. Um, yeah, I've written here like how the game is very great in that sense that like you look at your map, you make a plan, and then the plan comes together. Even though sometimes the plan goes to shit and you have to improvise, or maybe in oftentimes, but usually it comes together pretty nicely. And that's one of the beauty of the game, I think. There's not many games where you can just like plan it like that and be like that tactile. The game is tactical and everything is tactile as well. Like you're looking at your map and like deciding your route. That's just an awesome feeling, I think. And in that sense, you kind of like also when you spend time doing that, you learn the map, and then you need the map less in a way, at least for basic traversal. Like you start learning the routes and where the outposts are and how to avoid them and stuff like that. So in that sense, it all comes together pretty nicely. Um, it's cool how the world reacts to you with the reputation system, even though it's kind of bare bones. And this is like a thing about many systems in this game. It's kind of bare bones. But yeah, the reputation system is really cool. Like, there's like guards that run away or guards that hide or stuff like that when your reputation gets higher. And when it's like low, they're gonna backtalk you or in town and then like insult you in combat. When it's high, they just like are scared shitless. I think that's really cool. And the enemy AI in I haven't actually written it down, but I just thought about it. So the enemy AI in general is pretty great in this game, and that mod actually enhances it a bit as well. In the vanilla game, I think you could like game it a little bit and have it like, well, you can wound the enemies. You could like have the guys go and drag their bodies out like every time you wound them basically. Now they carry them out less often and are more less predictable, overall. So it makes it all that more interesting. And add on top of that the mod where they fight each other, so the AI is like completely, well, not completely, but a lot more or a lot less predictable, I should say, than in the vanilla game. In the vanilla game, it's already pretty great. They flank and they hide. They hide from snipers and just less body rescuing from them. Next thing I have actually written is the body system, but for the player, of course. The on the player side, the body system it's again kind of half baked, but I think it's a cool way to have that game over screen away from you, at least most of the time, if you have your body ready. Of course, the body missions are kind of ass, and they could have done a lot more with it, I think. but I think it's a budget or whatever. That they didn't. But they could have done a lot more with it, I think. But it's a cool immersive system, I think, that more games should have. There's like, yeah, the Act 1 finale was kind of like creepy, approaching that cabin in the wilderness. That's something I wrote down. Like the anticipation of it, like, and suddenly being ambushed, that was a great moment. I think, yeah, I've written like, there's few moments like that, too few moments. There's like, they should have had like more key moments like that, I think. Yeah, and one thing that I got from one deep dive video that I watched is like that the game feels tiring, or I think many people have said that, and I think that's very true. It's like an uphill struggle a lot of the time. And it's also kind of up to the player to lessen that burden by coming up with better routes and stuff like that, and better weapons, and. But that's also kind of cool, like, have that, like, it's not like a cakewalk. It's supposed to be kind of oppressive and, with the theme of this kind of game, should be oppressive. Yeah, then I've just written like that the world building is great and stuff like that. What I talked about. The weapon shops are cool. Oh, and one thing that is really cool is like the missions where you actually change the map by your actions, like the river rising up and stuff like that. I've written that the collectibles are easy to find, but they are not. Not all of them are easy to find, I think. But pretty easy. Yeah, I think that was everything. I think, yeah, that was pretty much everything I had from the game and from my 8-point system, I guess, of evaluating a game. A lot more off the cuff than a scripted thing would be, but this is not supposed to be a review. This is not supposed to be like a deep dive. This is kind of like a companion piece, or I don't know, appendix. I guess it's kind of like an appendix for the kind of an appendix for the game, or the series that I had, Yeah, because I felt like just doing a let's play is kind of done, and like there's lots of good essay channels, so I thought I will do something in between for every game that I finish, and this is my first stab at it, so hopefully it's not horrible. Beginning was kind of hard to get going, but once I start talking, I can't stop, I guess. Yeah, it's cool to do. Cool to do something like this for every game where I can actually think about it and say things that I didn't say during the video. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.